Well, salam alaikum and welcome to all of you. I would like to start today with providing ISAF's sincerest, heartfelt condolences to the families of any Pakistan Security Force members who may have been killed or injured in the incident along the Afghanistan-Pakistan border during the early hours of Saturday. We have confirmed that an incident occurred along the border in Kunar province, and there unfortunately were a number of Pakistan military casualties. The ongoing investigation regarding this incident is underway and has the highest level of the ISAF commander's attention. The commander of ISAF, General Allen, has put great emphasis the last couple of days that this will be investigated thoroughly. We will continue to work to improve coordination with the Pakistan military and must work to ensure these type of incidents do not occur in the future. A joint incident assessment team, together with Afghan authorities, started the initial assessment on Saturday. This initial assessment of the incident was to preserve information and data to facilitate the formal investigation. Yesterday, United States Central Command directed an official investigation into the incident. Brigadier General Stephen Clark from Headquarters Air Force Special Operations Command has been appointed as the investigating officer. This inquiry will be CENTCOM-led with the support, cooperation, and involvement of a NATO element on the investigation team. The focus of the investigation team will be to determine the facts of the incidents and matters that facilitate a better understanding of the circumstances surrounding the death and the injuries of the Pakistan forces. In conclusion, General Allen knows the bitter feeling of losing comrades in action. The loss of service members on either side of the border affects our collective ability to stop insurgents and their disruptive, dangerous activities, especially in the border region. The events of Saturday are testing our collective resolve. However, I remain confident that we will again be united in our quest to build regional security for Afghanistan, Pakistan, and the region. I thank you very much. As we have seen yesterday, the announcement of Tranche 2 of transition, this conference is also joined by two spokespersons who are talking about transition. Let me introduce to you the representative of the senior civilian representative of NATO, Mr. Dominic Medley, and also joining us today is Brigadier General Tim Beavis, who will speak to you on transition tranche 2. And with this, I hand over to Dominic Medley.
Tashakkur, General Saab, Khosh Amadi. The statement from the NATO Secretary General concerning the incident on Pakistan, which was released on Sunday, is on the side table for you in English and Dari. On transition, NATO welcomes President Karzai's announcement of the second group of areas to enter the transition process. Around 50% of the population will now be in transition areas. Transition is on schedule, and NATO will continue its efforts to ensure that the Afghans take security responsibility across the country by the end of 2014, in line with President Karzai's goal. This will be enabled by the growing capability and numbers of the Afghan army and police. NATO is confident the transition process will succeed. Beyond 2014, NATO aims for a strong and lasting partnership between Afghanistan and its international partners. The end of transition is a stage in a shared journey, not the end of it. NATO will keep the commitment to training and supporting the Afghan security forces throughout the transition process and beyond. And there are further statements from the Ambassador, NATO Senior Civilian Representative Simon Gass, and the Secretary General on transition in English and Dari on the side table there.
Thank you. Brigadier Beavis. Well, thank you very much. My name is Brigadier Tim Beavis, and I work in headquarters ISAF here for General Allen, specifically on transition issues. First, I would like to add ISAF's welcome for the government of Afghanistan's announcement on Sunday of the detailed locations for the second tranche of transition. This announcement comes about as a result of a long period of combined planning by Afghans and the international community. This involved a number of Afghan government ministries, such as those in security, the Ministry of Finance, and a number of others in governance, together with ISAF, with NATO, and with a number of international partners and donors. It involved the governance and development areas as well as security transition. The announcement of Tranche 2 is significant. It means about 50% of Afghans will soon be living in areas that are under the full control of the Afghan government and where it's able to take full responsibility for their security. This is a significant step forward. 50% is halfway there, and we are well on our way to help Afghanistan to achieve full sovereignty. This tranche is spread across the country in different provinces, covering different ethnicities, and in building on the earlier starts in all the regions. We've seen good progress since July, and we look forward to seeing an equal step forward in Tranche 2. In making this announcement, though, it is important that the expectations of the Afghan people and the international community are not unduly inflated. Transition is a process. It's not an event. And after the first day of transition, there are many, many more to come. It must be done properly if transition is to work, and therefore, over time, more and more improvements in any transition area will take place. This is the way we can ensure the results of transition are permanent. ISAF is still present in the Tranche 1 transitioned areas and will continue to work with the ANSF in ensuring security for the population. Certainly, ISAF forces will become less visible. They will begin to step back and will not be seen on the streets of transition areas. Over time, some of our personnel and equipment will leave these areas, and Afghan replacements, new forces and new capabilities will replace them and take over. Certainly also training and mentoring tasks that ISAF undertake will come to an end because the Afghan forces will have grown beyond them. In the event that security problems do arise in a transitioned area, it will be the ANSF that will take the lead in dealing with these events. Indeed, in many cases, the ANSF already do take the lead in these areas that we are transitioning over the next few weeks. Our intention is to continue building the capabilities of the ANSF as we go forward. This is in accordance with plans that we have in place and have already agreed with Giroa. The Afghan forces will become more and more capable and as such can deal with any insurgent threat by the end of the period. And this will allow ISAF in turn to concentrate on new areas that we wish to transition in future. Finally, it's important to mention that transition is not just about security. It does involve a substantial amount of work in building the governance and development capacity of the government agencies. As Afghanistan's police and military take on the lead role in security, it's these varied and diverse agencies of the Afghan government at local and at national level that will be the essential driving force to the prosperity of the nation. And that, linked with security, is the future. Thank you. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, from HQ-ISAF. I have two questions. My first question is regarding Dominic Bentley. Since the ISAF has supported the of transaction process. So definitely the insurgents will try to make some problems. So what is the main concern of ISAF? And my second question is regarding your books and there are some reports that those areas which the NATO attacks belongs to Afghanistan. So the question is there, the initial investigation of ISAF, what they shows, are these reports right or wrong?
On your transition question, you have an even better expert here today, so General Beavis will answer for you.
The first thing to look at is what has happened in the Tranche 1 areas of
The
Tranche.
question has to be
Oh, beg your pardon.
translated.
سوالی که در دور دوم انتقال در آنجای حساب چه کار و سوالی دوم در قسمت دیوارشایی که در مورد حمله بر پاکستان شده.
First of all, to look at the Tranche 1 areas, if we look at the amount of violence there in those areas compared to last year, there has not been a significant rise or even a rise in almost all of the areas in the level of violence where they have transitioned. And so the local reaction and the involvement of the local people with the ANSF has kept those areas safe.
در قسمت خشونت‌ها اول خشونت قدر زیاد توقع می‌رفت یا قدر زیاد بیم از اون می‌رفت وجود در مناطقی که انتقال صورت گرفته وجود نداشته هستند.
In the new areas, which will of course be much larger, the combined team made up of the ANSF with support from ISAF will only gradually change.
در مناطق تازه تحت انتقال قرار میگیره تیم‌های مشترک و تدریج شروع به کار میکنن مسئولیت
So the big change, the thing that has become different, is that there is an Afghan in the lead. And what we find is that when we have well-trained and capable senior officers from the police or from the army in charge, they match the operations that the combined team do to the conditions on the ground. And therefore we are confident that they will look after each of the areas in Tranche 2, notwithstanding there will be some incidents from time to time.
پس تغییر بزرگ به این خواهد بود که افغان‌ها در رأس قرار دارن، در رهبری قرار دارن و اونا عین کارهایی رو میکنن که قوای مشترک پیش از این انجام دادن و عین ترتیب عمل میکنن.
It is one of the challenges for operations in the border area, and this is not new, that the Durand Line and the interpretation of the Durand Line on its entire length is not 100% clear. Differences of the interpretation go to more than 1 kilometer in many places. Repeatedly, we have seen insurgents using this situation in their favor, using the border on either side for safe haven, for operations, and for fire against the other side of the border. So whilst the incidents of Saturday has to come to its conclusion in this and all the other aspects in the ongoing investigation, it has to be clear that the only ones who profit from uncertainty and unclarity in the border area are the insurgents.
پس حادثه روز شنبه باید واضح شود که یگانه کسی که از این بهره‌برداری میکنه مالیات ایشان نباشد.
And it is therefore in the interest of all parties involved to come to a quick, precise and definite conclusion in the investigation.
پس در مفاد هر دو جانب است که به یک نتیجه قاطع به این قسمت برسند.
Next question, please.
The last Hawaii BBC News. What was the target of your operation? Was there any coordination with the Pakistanis in advance? You obviously had special forces, you had commandos from the Afghan National Army. It's a big operation.
سوالی بود که هدف عملیات شما در اینجا چی بود؟ کجا بود و چی می‌خواستین بکنید؟
The operation was executed by Afghan commandos, coalition forces as a normal operation at night in Kunar province.
عملیات توسط کماندوهای افغان و اطلاع در جریان شب در ولایت کنر می‌رفت.
Without going into details of the operation, it was within the mandate and on Afghan soil, and the tactical situation led to the decision to call for close air support.
بدون از اینکه جزئیاتش رو بگویم، کاریکتا می‌کنیم که قوایی که اونجا عملیات اجرا می‌کنن در حلقه صلاحیت خود بودن، یعنی صلاحیت زیر داشتن که در این منطقه عملیات کنن.
How the situation developed in this rugged terrain in the middle of the night, close to the border area, is the elementary part of the investigation and can only be answered once all the facts are on the table, and hopefully the Pakistani side also gets involved in the investigation.
اینکه واقعا چگونه انکشاف یافت در نیمه شب در نزدیک سحر صرف در صورت اجازه داده می‌شود که ما تمام حقایق داشته باشیم و تمام جوانب در تحقیقات داخل باشند، شامل باشند.
It is exactly this what the fact-finding of the days from Saturday to now as the start of the investigation formed the basis of. And now we see the start of the investigation under US CENTCOM's guidance.
به همین خاطر در آغاز تحقیقات از روزشنبه به طرف موضوع حقیقت یابی است و وارد این تحقیقات به سنتکام شروع کردن که به اساس از این جریان دارد.
Next question, please.
Josh Puck, Washington Post. Were there any insurgents, ISAF, U.S. military, Afghan army casualties in this incident, or was it simply Pakistani casualties?
سوال این بود که آیا تلفات قوای افغانی آیساف و غیره هم در اینجا بوده یا صرف تلفات پاکستانی بوده به عملیات؟
We have no reports of civilian casualties, and the forces of the ground force were not involved in casualty figures.
گزارشی نداریم که اهالی تلفات ملکی وجود داشته باشه و همچنان از قوای آیساف هم گزارشی تلفات داشته باشه.
پاکستان حکومت دغه حملې په غبرګون کې وایي چې موږ د اکمالات لارې پرځو په دې څو ورځو کې هغوی دا خپله فیصله عملي کړې ده، نه دغه اکمالات بند یې وکړه.
Government of Pakistan has said that they are closing the supply routes. Have they acted on their warning?
The supply routes, the land supply routes through Pakistan have been closed, and no land transport what goes through Pakistan in the moment.
خط یک ملاکی از پاکستان مسدود شده و فعلا هیچ چیز از پاکستان انتقال نمی‌کنه.
That means that the two major border crossing points are closed for ISAF traffic, and ISAF has halted putting additional convoys on the road from Karachi.
دو گذرگاه سرحدی مسدود است و پاکستان هم آیساف هم دیگر انتقال از کراچی بندر کراچی به طرف افغانستان فعلا متوقف ساخته.
In the rear, please. I will try to get this back to you.
What are the steps that you've taken to open the supply routes? And the second question is, Pakistan has said that they're not going to join, they're not going to participate in Bonn conference, while Afghanistan says it's between Afghanistan and NATO. What do you?
I will share this answer with Dominic Medley. And I will first talk about the Pakistan supply routes. It is in the interest in all parties involved to, as soon as possible, return to normality. That goes for the tripartite talks about operations in the border area, and that also goes for all other questions involved, including logistics. At the moment, as I said, we have stopped putting additional transports on the road so that we don't have a massing of equipment in front of the border crossings. And although I know Bonn quite well, the next question I hand to Dominic.
Bonn is an important conference. It will show that the international community remains committed to Afghanistan in the years ahead. The conference is, of course, chaired by the government of Afghanistan, and of course NATO hopes that everyone invited to the conference at Bonn will indeed attend at the invitation of the government of Afghanistan. Next question.
Just to make you walk a little longer.
I have a couple of questions. First is, what has Pakistan said in terms of asking them to participate in the investigation? And secondly,
could you repeat that?
what has Pakistan's response been to requests to participate in the investigation? Secondly, have NATO personnel left at the Shamshi base in Baluchistan? Pakistan has asked NATO personnel still there to leave. I want to know if there's been any movement there. And thirdly, what was the communication, or was there any communication at all between ISAF and or the U.S. and Pakistan during that operation?
That is 3 questions in one.
Let me translate the questions first.
Let me, sorry? Oh, sorry, yes.
سوال اول وقتی از پاکستان خواسته شد که در تحقیقات اشتراک کنه جواب پاکستان چی بود؟ دوم در قسمت پایگاه شمسی وقتی که پاکستان ناتو رو گفت که از اینجا خارج شد آیا ناتو خارج شده یا هنوز اونجا است؟ و سوال سوم در جریان عملیات آیا بین آیساف یا ایالات متحده و پاکستان مقابلات وجود داشته یا نه؟
Starting with number 1, there is no request yet to Pakistan to participate in the investigation. It is in the interest of the investigation and will come in the process that Afghanistan participate to round the picture. Pakistan to join the investigation or contribute to the investigation to round the picture. No.
تا به حال از پاکستان تقاضا نشده که در تحقیقات اشتراک کنه، اما این به مفاد تحقیقات است که پاکستان در اشتراک کنه.
A decision to ask U.S. forces to leave the base of Shamshid is a national sovereign decision of Pakistan that has to be honored.
تصمیم در مورد اینکه پاکستان در قسمت از پاکستان تصمیم گرفت که بخواه از ما خواسته که ما خارج شدیم از شمسی، این البته در حلقه حاکمیت پاکستان است و ما متوقع.
But it is too early to talk about how this will proceed. And when it comes to the incident itself, all the questions, who was where, how was the situation developing, what was the use of close air support, and who talked to whom, is part of the investigation, and we have to wait for the outcome of the investigation.
تمام سوالای چی کجا بود که امروز می‌ذارم هنوزی هنوز بخشی از تحقیقات است و باید منتظر باشیم که تحقیقات تکمیل شود.
ممنونم از آغاز فرانزی کلید رادیو خبریگاه زمان فکر که بخاطر که وقتی ناتو افغان حکومت عملیات که چطور عملیات برسر شد پاکستان داده چیزش افغان عسکری وزشی آیا بدن عملیات رو چطور برسر شد که افغانستان و پاکستان برای تو همدارنگا لکنه‌گری سر وقتی مبارزه بسازی دوباره
The question is this incident between NATO and Pakistan, where the Pakistani soldiers were killed. Has this had any effect on the relations between Afghanistan and Pakistan? What has been the effect on the relations between the two countries?
And on the war.
And on the war, and on the war against terrorists.
From ISAF's point of view, operations continue as normal.
البته نظر ناتو
Of course, the border area is looked at with particular care when it comes to operations at the moment.
البته در قسمت تا جایی که به عملیات مربوط است در منطقه سرحدی ما عملیات زیاد کار می‌کنیم.
As I said earlier on, the border area has been used and abused by the insurgents over months and years in their favor.
طوری که گفتم منطقه سرحدی توسط شورشیان استفاده شده و سوء استفاده شده در طول سالها.
We have seen the use of safe areas on either side of the border. We have seen numerous incidents of cross-border fire by the insurgents.
ما استفاده از محلات مسئول دیدیم و همچنان بلورباری‌های متقابل در منطقه دیدیم که از دو طرف صورت گرفته.
To deal with this critical situation of the border area, the instruments of the tripartite were organized and installed.
برای برخورد برای این موضوع ما از حاله کمیته سیجانه استفاده می‌کنیم.
The events of Saturday morning were tragic from our point of view, and that is why the commander has not only expressed immediately his condolences, but also expressed his feelings as a fellow soldier.
واقعه سرحدی یک واقعه تراژیک بود و روی همین منظور نه تنها کماندان آیساف مراتب شخصیت خود ابراز کرد بلکه also باعث یک عسکر هم اما احساس غم و تراژدی که داشت روی ابراز کرد.
And as only the insurgents profit, it is in all our interest, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and the international coalition, to, as fast as possible, reinstall this process to normality.
یگانه کسی که از این منفعت میبره شورشیان است و سی به مفاد و مصالح همه ما در افغانستان، پاکستان و آیساف که این موضوع را به سودی حل و فصل کنیم.
And it is also in our interest, through a thorough investigation, going into every detail to make certain that things like this cannot happen again.
همچنین تحقیقات مفصل در این قسمت آمریکا ماست تا ببینیم چی واقع شد که در آینده هم واقع نشد.
I'm just choosing the one that is furthest away from you.
Cherokee from the HQ.
I have a question regarding an incident in Kandahar province last week in which six civilians were reportedly killed in NATO airstrike. We had a statement from President Karzai's office this morning quoting a letter from ISAF Commander General Allen that the ISAF will retrain its troops in Afghanistan on avoiding civilian casualties by December 5. Just wanted to say, well, why this step has been taken now, and what will this extra training involve? Thanks.
سوال در مورد واقعه کندهار بود که یک تعداد از اهالی کشته شده بود و بیانیه رئیس جمهور که از آیساف کماندان آیساف قبول کرد که تا 5 دسامبر به این اقدام صورت بگیرد. چرا تا با حال
The letter of COM-ISAF to the President that involved casualties, civilian casualties in Kandahar over the last 7 days is the reason for the statement that the palace released today.
نامی آیساف در مورد تلفات اهالی در کندهار سبب شد که رئیس جمهور این بیانیه را امروز صادر کند.
In the case of the incident you talked about, we have seen a presidential condemnation last week.
در مورد واقعی که شما گفتین ما محکومیت را که رئیس جمهور اکتیوی داشته در آن که
It is the highest interest of ISAF to protect the civilian population. So the commander of ISAF immediately after the incident took action in his orders to his commanders.
چون آیساف علاقه شدید داره که علاقه شدید در قسمت تلفات آقایی داره به اون خاطر مجرده که این موضوع بیان شد به اون خاطر تصمیم خود گرفت که در این مورد عمل کنند.
Retraining of the entire force in all the relevant and long existing orders has been ordered.
تعلیمات مجدد تمام قوا تمام اساطیر بعد از این واقعه هدایت داده شده که در قسمت جلوگیری از تلفات آقایی
This is, for example, escalation of force, road traffic behavior. The contents of these orders were in the letter to President Karzai, and they are quoted in large parts in the statement that was given by the palace today. It goes without saying that ISAF deeply regrets any civilian casualty that is caused by ISAF and that every effort is taken to reduce these numbers. Next question, please.
Muhammad from Cuba. So would you tell us exactly how many people were killed in Saturday's morning incident?
For the exact figures, you still have to ask the Pakistani side. Oh, sorry. You're talking about the Kandahar incident. In the incident in question, 7 civilian casualties were reported. The case is under investigation so that we find out where ISAF is responsible.
The air crews who were involved in the incident, are they still flying combat missions? And has anyone been relieved of duty or faced disciplinary action in the investigation?
در واقع پاکستان میگن که آیا و عملی قوای هوایی که در این دست داشته آیا هنوز کار به کار خود ادامه میدن و یا کدام جزای انضباطی دیدن؟
A military investigation is not that different from a civil investigation.
تحقیقات نظامی چندان از تحقیقات ملکی تفاوت ندارد.
And therefore, you will not call anybody guilty before the investigation is completed.
تا وقتی که تحقیقات تکمیل نشده نمیتونیم کسی را بگوییم که گناهکار است.
Next question, please.
Sorry, I just wanted to press Dominic a little bit on the bond question earlier. It's our understanding that earlier today, Pakistan did actually confirm that they were going to boycott the conference. Do you have anything to add to your earlier statement in light of that?
در مورد بون پاکستان امروز تایید کرد که با کنفرانس بون مخاطب میکنه.
Bonn is hosted by the government of Afghanistan. The invitations go from the government of Afghanistan. It is not a NATO conference. Of course, we hope in the interests of the region that everyone invited attends. There's still a few days to go until the 5th of December.
حکومت افغانستان میزبان کنفرانس بون است و ما امیدواریم که همه کسایی که دعوت شدن اینا اشتراک کنند و البته یک چند روز هنوز باقی مانده
As I said before, we certainly would hope that Pakistan would attend, at the invitation of the government of Afghanistan, the Bonn conference. It marks 10 years of looking back on Afghanistan. It looks at regional issues. It will show the continued international community support to Afghanistan in the interests of peace in this region. Very important conference.
ما امیدوار هستیم که پاکستان تجدید نظر کنه به این واقعه برای اینکه 10 سال شد از کنفرانس اول و در این 10 سال چیزایی که رخ داده سرازیر در کنفرانس بون بحث میشه.
Thank you very much. Thank you that you're all happy with tranche 2. And I hope to see you next week. Thank you.